So Trump announced Israel will just hand over Gaza and there'll be no U.S. troops needed. This is what he announced on Truth Social. So he's doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down on this idea that the United States is going to take over Gaza, build it up to be the Riviera of the Middle East. He says the Gaza Strip will be turned over to the United States by Israel at the conclusion of fighting. The Palestinians, people like Chuck Schumer, would have already been resettled in far safer and more beautiful communities with new and modern homes in the region. They would actually have a chance to be happy, safe, and free. The U.S., working with great development teams from all over the world, would slowly and carefully begin the construction of what would become one of the greatest and most spectacular developments of its kind on Earth. No soldiers by the U.S. would be needed. Stability for the region would reign. I'm super confused by this tweet, by this Truth Social post for a couple of reasons. For one, what did he mean by the Palestinians, people like Chuck Schumer, would have already been resettled in far safer and more beautiful communities with new and modern homes in the region? So he's calling Chuck Schumer, who's Jewish and a supporter of Israel, he's calling him a Palestinian, using it like a slur, first of all, which is, not good. And he's saying that basically people like them, the Palestinians and Chuck Schumer, would have already been resettled if they could, apparently, in other parts of the world. So people are wondering if this is a negotiation tactic by Trump or if he's dead serious. I have the inclination to believe that if somebody says something over and over and over again, especially Donald Trump, that he's probably actually serious about this, that he actually thinks this is a good idea or the right idea. I'm really confused as to, does he just think that the Palestinians haven't left because they couldn't? Like, is that what he's thinking? He's thinking, well, if they could leave, they would have, but instead they've been stuck this whole time. Does he really think that they're not fighting for their homeland, that that's the entire purpose? Does he think that they just inherently hate Jews and that's why they've been fighting the Jews? Is that what he thinks? It's like, oh, they just are born and bred to be anti-Semites and they're just fighting Jews because they're Jews, not because, somebody's actually trying to take their land. Does he think that they wouldn't fight Americans if American contractors came in, for example, and started building? So even once Israel hands over the plot of land, does he think that Palestinians will just give up their land, give up their homeland, what they've been fighting for, because now the people in their building are not Jews and they're just Jew haters? That's like really what it comes down to. And so that's the whole, this is just so outlandish to me, but I think he's dead serious. And I think one of the real masterminds behind this is his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. This is Jared Kushner about a year ago talking about exactly what Trump is proposing now. Watch this.
In Gaza's waterfront property, it could be very valuable to, if people would focus on kind of building up livelihoods. You think about all the money that's gone into this tunnel network and into all the munitions. If that would have gone into education or innovation, what could have been done? And so I think that it's a little bit of an unfortunate situation there. But I think from Israel's perspective, I would do my best to move the people out and then clean it up. But I don't think that Israel has stated that they don't want the people to move back there afterward. The thing that I would try to do if I was Israel right now is I would just bulldoze something in the Negev. I would try to move people in there. I know that won't be the popular thing to do, but I think that that's a better option to do so you can go in and finish the job.
Oh, right. Yeah, move them to the middle of the desert. Gaza is beachfront property. And you think the Palestinians are just going to give up their beachfront property and go live in the desert? Try telling that to the Palisadians here in California who just lost their homes too, their beachfront property homes. Go tell the Palisadians that they need to go and live in the desert. Go live in Death Valley. It's cool there. Really, trust. We're going to build you brand new modern homes in Death Valley. You're going to love it. And then we'll work on clearing the land in the Palisades and we'll rebuild it. This is just pure and simple land theft, ethnic cleansing. Jared Kushner's mastermind idea here, the guy that was practically raised by Netanyahu. Here he is saying, let's just clear it from all the Palestinians, stick them in the middle of the desert and start building. Here is Israel's defense minister, Katz. He has constructed a plan and he messaged this out today to the world saying, I have instructed the IDF to prepare a plan that will allow any resident of Gaza who wishes to leave to do so to any country willing to receive them. Hamas has used the residents of Gaza as human shields, built its terror infrastructure in the heart of the civilian population, and now holds them hostage, extorting money from them through the humanitarian aid system and preventing their departure from Gaza. The plan will include exit options via land crossings, as well as special arrangements for departure by sea and air. Countries such as Spain, Ireland, Norway, and others, which have falsely accused Israel over its actions in Gaza, are legally obligated to allow Gazans to enter their territory. Okay, we'll keep going. Says their hypocrisy will be exposed if they refuse. Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure it's not their hypocrisy. It would be yours. You should let them live in Israel, and we'll see who the hypocrite is. You're just trying to get rid of the Palestinians. If you want to show that you're not a hypocrite, let them live in Israel. You've got 2 million Palestinians living in Israel. You keep bringing it up like, oh, what? We're not a Jewish-only nation. We've got 2 million Palestinians that we use for manual labor, and we treat them like shit, but they're here. Okay, so then let the others come and live there. And then that'll actually, showcase that you're not trying to ethnically cleanse the Palestinian people. It'd be your hypocrisy would be exposed if you refuse, and of course you will. It says, meanwhile, countries like Canada, which has a structured immigration program, have previously expressed willingness to take in residents from Gaza. The people of Gaza should have the right to freedom of movement and migration, as is customary everywhere in the world. Really? Say that to President Trump. I welcome President Trump's bold initiative, which can create extensive opportunities for those in Gaza who wish to leave, assist them in resettling in host countries, and support long-term reconstruction efforts and a demilitarized, threat-free Gaza after Hamas, an effort that will take many years. Guys, we are being so gaslit. How can anybody not see how bad this is? They have a full-on grip on our government. Everybody in our government is waving the Israeli flag, saying, oh, we support Israel, our greatest ally, we do anything for Israel. And it's the most hypocritical. They've got us all bent over, guys. I mean, this is so bad. This is so bad. It's so obviously bad. Here you've got Trump, make America great again, MAGA, America first, do what's best for America and Americans. And now Trump is talking about, we're going to take over Gaza, a place 6,000 miles away. We're going to take over Gaza and we're going to build Gaza up, not America, not you and me, not the United States. We're going to spend billions and billions of dollars rebuilding a piece of land 6,000 miles away and turning that area, not our shores, but that area into the Riviera of the Middle East. So first, we've got a complete abandonment of the very thing that got Trump elected. Make America, I'm pretty sure A is not I. Make America great again. Not make Israel great again. That's what he's doing. He's putting way more money. What proposition has he put forward that is going to be billions and billions of dollars for the US, for Americans? All we've seen is budget slashes for Americans, right? Budget slash. And maybe rightfully so. Budget slash, budget slash, budget slash. Jobs lost. Americans are being put out of jobs. Maybe again, rightfully so. But that's still tens of thousands of Americans losing their jobs. Now we've seen a surge in the unemployment benefits being, this week, there was a massive surge in people filing for unemployment benefits. Many of them government workers, most likely. And now that he's going to be getting rid of even more government workers, American government workers, which fine, like I said, fair enough. Maybe these programs need to be gutted. Maybe these people need to find new jobs. But why are we creating jobs in Israel, all the way over there for them to take? Because that's what Gaza is going to be. Gaza is going to be Israel. It's not going to be for Palestine. It's not going to be Palestine. It's not going to be America. He's claiming, oh, America's going to take it and own it. Really? So first of all, you've got Make America Great Again going out the window. Secondly, you've got the Israelis who have told us for the last year and longer, really, for decades, they have said Palestinians are terrorists. They're terrorists and they need to be put out. They need to be put down like rabid animals. That's what they've been telling us. And now, as they've been telling us, that we should hate Palestinians, we should fear Palestinians, we should cheer them on for killing them because they're all a bunch of evil, hateful people. Now the Israelis are saying, but you need to take them. So we've been telling you for a year that they're evil, hateful people, rapists, murderers. They don't care about life, but you need to let them into your countries. And guess what all these countries will do? They'll do it because that's how bought off and gaslit they are by these narratives. Does that make sense to you? A country sat there and told us for a long time that these people were dangerous. They had to be killed. They had to be massacred. Even the children were rabid little animals. And now you need to take, but we have to take them. We have to take them in. So he said, how dare Norway, Spain, Ireland, you guys all need to take them after we just sat there telling you they were terrorists trying to kill us. Okay. So then you've got that. And then on top of this, you've got this country, Israel, saying, we're going to deport all of these people and make them immigrants into your country. We're going to make you take them. Meanwhile, Trump is sitting here telling all Americans, we're trying to get rid of people. We're trying to clear out we don't want to take people from around the world. We don't want to take them. Europe, we're seeing tons of protests, people marching the streets. They don't want to be taking people in. In fact, Israel spent their propaganda machine, their IDF propaganda machine, sitting around in little rooms on their computers, going on a social media, acting like they're other people, acting like they're Canadians, acting like they're British, acting like they're Germans or whatever they're pretending to be. And they're saying they've sowed discord for an entire year in Europe. Again, maybe it's true. I mean, after all, the number one baby name in the UK this year was Muhammad, right? So there is clearly an influx of Muslims that have gone into Europe. And the IDF, Israel, and their propaganda machine has gone around pointing that out to try to get Europeans to hate Muslims. This has been a concerted campaign to get Europeans to hate Muslims. Look, they've infiltrated your land. You hate them too, and we need to fight them, right? It was all a game to get us mentally into that. And now Israel's saying, but you need to take millions more? Telling Europe, oh, you don't like these Muslims? These Muslims are bad. Let us kill these Muslims. You hate them too. See, we have a common enemy. They keep saying that over and over. We have a common enemy. And now they're saying, but you need to take 2 million of them, 1.5 million, because we actually killed off 500,000. So now you need to take 1.5 million. The gaslighting on this is unbelievable. This is like the what we dealt with during COVID. And the stupidity, the absolute stupidity, and people that seemed so brilliant in every other way, people we respected, people we thought were intelligent people, suddenly were the biggest idiots, believing that if you wear a mask, or walking from the front of the restaurant to your table, and then you could take the mask off, that would be okay. Or you could cut a hole in the mask so you could play clarinet. Or you needed to walk in one direction in the grocery store. And that was somehow going to prevent COVID. All these people who we thought were so smart and they ended up just being total and complete idiots during COVID. That's what we're seeing right now. I mean, this is just idiotic. And you know what? The Israelis know it. They know you're stupid. That's what they're banking on. They're banking on your stupidity. You're just going to buy it. They told you they were terrorists and now they tell you, but make them your neighbors. And then you'll sit there and go, okay, because you said so. Okay. All right. I will. So not only have they bought off, I think they bought off a fair number of our politicians, but I also think they know that people are just gullible and they'll just, whatever they say, we'll buy. And we are. So the defense minister of Israel having this idea, and look, I'm for that to a degree. If Gazans want to leave, and there are countries that will take them, they should be able to leave. I mean, if they really want to leave. The thing is that the vast majority do not want to leave. They're fighting for their homeland. That's the point. It will have been a waste of their children's lives, their parents' lives, their loved ones' lives, if they leave the land that those lives were given to protect. Those lives were given so that their children's children could live on that land. So it would be a complete waste of their lives if these Gazans just took off. And that's why none of them want to. And we're going to see a real lesson learned when America, if this plan is really legitimate, when America tries to move in on Gaza and the Palestinians fight and then start killing Americans, For one, Israel loves that idea because, again, it'll make you just hate the Palestinians, and you'll forget all of the narrative. The minute they start killing Americans, you'll forget the reason why. I mean, you'll sit there and, oh, now they just hate Americans. Remember, they told us, the Israelis have been telling us that these people are just born and bred anti-Semites, and they're just killing Jews because they hate Jews. That's it. They just want to Holocaust all the Jews. They failed to tell us it's actually about the land. They don't want you to know that. They want you to think it's just anti-Semitism, which is not a real thing. There's no such thing as anti-Semitism, because it's just there that doesn't have any meaning. Anti-Semitism. What is anti-Semitism? You don't like Semites. Well, the Palestinian people are Semites. So we have to stop even using that word. Is there a word for anti-Christian? I don't know if there's a word for, there's no word for like anti-Westerners. Like you're just anti the West or you're anti-Christian. There's no word for this, right? So this isn't, but they're just sitting there thinking, oh, these Palestinians just hate Jews because everybody in the world is just an inherent Jew hater. That's what they all think. Not thinking that, maybe there's reasons why they don't like you. It's not because of who you are or your religion, what you believe, what you were, or even, I wouldn't even call Jewish people, or there are some that practice a religion, but being Jewish is more of a belief system. It's not really a religious belief system. It's like Covidians. Covidians believed, it's not a religion per se, but it's basically, it's like a religion. It's very similar to a religion. So that's what I would call it. I wouldn't even say that it was like they were necessarily against Judaism, that the actual religion, because there's just a different belief that even the atheist Jews believe. So there's a belief there. And it's not like these people are against that belief. It's not like any of us are against that belief system necessarily. Like, oh, we just don't like anybody who, I mean, this is just absurdity. And they've got us all chomping at the, believe in this. We're just being force fed this. And a lot of people are just dishing it into their mouths. They're not even being force fed. They're just eating it. They're just eating it. So when they start killing Americans, this is what the Israelis want. They want the Palestinians to fight for their land and start killing Americans, because then you'll hate them again and you'll forget the fact that the reason why they're killing you is because they're fighting for their land. You're instead just going to call them whatever the anti-Westerner term is that we come up with, which we won't have one, but something like anti-Semite, right? I mean, I don't understand this. Then you got idiots online. I've been looking at this, the reaction to the defense minister saying that he's got this great plan, move all the Palestinians to the countries who will take them. And here's one example of a response to this message. This guy, Lee Kern, he's an Oscar-nominated writer. He was apparently worked on Borat too. So this is the genius of this guy. He says, this is absolute genius from Israel. If these countries do not accept Palestinians, then every accusation they have made against Israel in this war is absolute bullshit. Wait a minute, what? Oh, this is genius. Because all of the accusations everyone's been making against Israel, like what accusations exactly? Oh, like the accusation that you want to get rid of all the Palestinians, either by massacring them or moving them. You want to ethnically cleanse or genocide them. So those accusations are bullshit. If we don't take your Palestinians and get them out of the area. I thought you were smart. You're supposed to be smart. Here you are, a writer, an Oscar-nominated writer for Borat too, and yet that's the logic, that if we don't take the people you're trying to get rid of, then our accusation of you trying to get rid of these people is bullshit. Okay. Okay. So the only thing I can think of is that, the narrative that's being pushed right now is apparently Trump in saying, yeah, we're going to take over Gaza. We're going to rebuild it. We're going to move these Palestinians to the desert and rebuild it and take it. America's going to own it. It's going to be this amazing, Middle East Riviera. The thinking around this is to get you gaslit into believing that the reason why the Gazans haven't left this hellhole is because no one would take them. So if people would take them, they would choose to leave. That's the thinking. That's the logic they're trying to push onto you. They're not saying it fully like that. So you always have to watch what is the narrative they're trying to push. That's the narrative they're pushing right now, is that it's everybody else's fault because no one would take these people. And because of that, these poor people were stuck living in these horrible, just unlucky circumstances. And that's what Trump actually used the word unlucky while he's standing next to genocidal Netanyahu, who's bombing these children, bombing a city of kids. Remember, this is a city of kids. 50%, more than 50% of the population were under the age of 18, a city of kids. And Netanyahu was bombing them, claiming it was targeted strikes. Now we see the whole place is destroyed. Let's actually show how destroyed Palestine is. I mean, look at the rubble in this place. The reports now that we're able to go in, because remember, for the longest time, we weren't able to go in. No one was able to go in. Drone videos, journalists, no one was able to visit the area. IDF had completely blocked it off during the war. Now they're in, now that there's a ceasefire, and we see that 70% of the entire place is destroyed. It's a total demolition zone. So Israel wasn't doing targeted strikes at all. They were just blowing everything up to destroy it because they don't want the Palestinians to have anything to come back to. Because then at the end, they could show all the destruction, and then they could turn to guys like Trump, and they're bought off, not even bought off. They don't have to buy off the Zionist Jared Kushner, but get Jared Kushner, who's sleeping in the same bed as Ivanka Trump and has a lot of dirt on her, I'm sure. And a lot of, probably a lot of footage, I'm just claiming, I'm just saying, probably got a lot of stuff to make her very embarrassed if he really wanted to get her daddy to make sure that he does everything that the Zionists want. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of, because this is just so stupid. I can't, it's hard for me to imagine that any somewhat sane person, any somewhat logical sane person, which I think Trump is, it's hard, and like RFK Jr. and a lot of these other people who just pledged allegiance to Israel, hard for me to imagine that they just genuinely support Israel without there being some sort of blackmail on them. It's hard for me to think that any logical person with half of a brain. Then again, there was the whole COVID thing, and that really shocked me, because a lot of really smart people genuinely believed, and they weren't bought off. They weren't taking money from Big Pharma, and they just really, really believed it. So maybe, I suppose, it's just hard for me to really understand. Now let's show Palestine what it was before. We have some footage. This has been shared by Palestinians over the last day or two, because Trump comes up with this plan, like we're going to turn it into the Riviera of the Middle East, and saying things like it was shit before, it's terrible now, but we're going to do something really nice with it. And the Palestinians have been showing the footage of Gaza before it was bombed to oblivion, showing that it was nice. We made it nice. Here's the Israelis acting like it always looked like the way we're seeing the images, that these people just spent all their money on bombs and tunnels and terrorism. And the Palestinians have been showing, actually, this was really nice beachfront property before you bastards came along and started blowing it all up. That we had it wasn't a great place to live because of the blockade that Israel had on it. I mean, they were controlling even macaroni getting to the kids. They didn't let the children have things like cookies, crayons, and macaroni. They were trying, and that, I'm not even exaggerating that. They literally didn't let children have crayons, cookies, or macaroni. And the reason, they said, well, because they're terrorists. So they were trying to make the children, they were trying to turn people into terrorists by cutting them off from basic things that make us happy, make our childhoods fun and memorable. But look at this beautiful beachfront land, and they want to ship these people off to the desert and act like that's a fair swap, while they then build up their shiny buildings. And then what? You think that United States is going to have some sort of Middle East enclave forever? Trump is only president for 4 years. That's it. And then 4 years comes and goes. And this project to rebuild Gaza will take 20 years. Well, who's the president in 4 years that's going to take it over? And what about 4 years after that? And do you not think that the Israelis are going to buy off all of the next future presidents? They know how much it costs. 100 million, 200 million. Trump got 230 million from Zionists. So they know how much that costs. They'll buy the next president, and they'll get that president to, guess what? Let them annex Gaza. Take it from the United States. It's yours. You're our greatest ally. So you can have it now. We don't want to deal with it anymore. That's what's going to happen. And the Israelis know it, so they're happy to oblige and say, all right, we'll give it to you. Good. You'll do the dirty work. You claim no American troops. That's fine. You'll have American contractors in there. They'll get blown up. Then Americans will start hating Palestinians. Then we can get rid of the lot of them. because we're going to have terrorists coming in from the West Bank. That's what we're going to claim. And then we're going to start bombing that oblivion out of the West Bank. And you Americans will be on board with it this time because they killed some American contractors. This is a great plan. I mean, and if the enclave is so dangerous, if the Palestinians can't be there while it's being rebuilt because they're saying, well, the place is like laced with bombs, like the Israelis just went around putting bombs everywhere so that the Palestinians couldn't come back, otherwise they'd be blown up. So if it's so dangerous that Palestinians can't be there, how are you going to put American contractors there? How are you going to put construction workers and architects and builders, the guys that have to land clear? How are they going to, the guys that have to land clear? I mean, they're going to be apparently blown up every few feet. So how are you going to send those guys in, but you're not going to let the Palestinians be there to help rebuild their own area? Why wouldn't you just let the Palestinians stay and rebuild and do all of that? Why would you put the contractors in there? I mean, if it's so big, it's because it's not that dangerous for them to be there. They just don't want them there. Riviera of the Middle East. I mean, look, you're going to tell Gazans they got to live in the desert. And then you're going to tell Americans what? We cut all the budgets. We got a bunch of you now unemployed. AI took all your jobs. Sorry about that, but we're rebuilding Gaza for the Israelis because it's make Israel great again. I mean, look, and they're saying, oh, Trump, he's amazing. He's thinking outside of the box. This is such unique thinking, right? Trump says, this war has been going on. If the way to stop the war is to just separate the two groups of people who can't live next to each other. They're fighting. There's a lot of death. It's terrible. It's atrocious. And it'll just keep happening if we don't step in and just remove a group. Okay, well, why don't we just move all the Ukrainians? Get them the hell out of there. Clearly, Russia's just making their lives miserable. It's a hellhole. There's millions of bodies in the fields, as you're saying. I mean, it's terrible in Ukraine. So why don't we just move the Ukrainians? That'll stop the war. That's out of the box thinking, right? How about we do that to the Indians and the Pakistanis? I mean, they keep fighting over the Kashmir region. Why don't we just move them? Why don't we just build a buffer zone and the U.S. takes it? How about the U.S. just take Kashmir? That'll solve that problem. We'll take Kashmir. We'll move all the people out. They got to go. We're going to take it. It's ours. And we'll stop the fighting between Pakistan and India. Problem solved. That's out of the box thinking. I agree. The U.S. should just totally take Ukraine, move all the Ukrainians to America, I guess. Problem solved. No issue there. Armenians and Azerbaijanis, they keep fighting. Why don't we just move one of them? I don't know, the Armenians. Again, how about another Armenian genocide? Why don't we just do it this time? They're always causing problems. Just move them. This is the stupidest thinking. And it's because that it doesn't work in any other context. So you got all these Americans thinking this is a brilliant idea. And then when you start applying it to every other conflict, like the Mexicans cause us a lot of problems. We keep hearing this over and over. Fentanyl coming across the border, human trafficking, cartels. We got just people flooding in from Mexico. I got an idea. Why don't we just clear Mexico, move them somewhere else? Tell Argentina they got to take them. You got to take them. You got to take them. You both speak Spanish. Take the people. You speak Spanish. We're going to clear Mexico. We're going to take Mexico. Get rid of the problem. That'll solve it. Because this isn't a real solution. This is a solution that Israel wants. This is an Israeli solution. And that's why anybody that thinks this is some sort of a negotiation tactic, think again. He's serious. This is what the $230 million bought. Miriam Adelson gave $100 million because she wanted to annex the West Bank. They're going to do that. But that other $130 million bought Gaza. And now you've got Trump talking about America's going to take it. American contractors are going to die there. It's not our land to take. Who says we can just go and start taking? I mean, here's America now turning into the Israelis. We're going to do the one thing. We've been accusing Israel of ethnic cleansing and genocide all of these decades, of wanting to get rid of the Palestinians. We're just going to go in and do the dirty work. What a shame. Shame on us. It's a sick and twisted society with sick and twisted thinking, and they've bought off our government. Let me show you how sick and twisted this society is. Did you see what Netanyahu gifted Trump during his visit? Look at this. Look at what this is. Let me show you this award that Netanyahu gave. Do you see that gold shiny thing in the middle? That's a pager. Yeah, that's a pager. And it says press with both hands, and it shows the buttons to press, which I'm sure it makes a sound. I don't know what that sound is. Would love to know what it is. It the sound of screaming children having their arms and legs blown off? Because that's what happened during the pager attack. There was children who were killed, children who were maimed. Is that the sound that comes out of that pager? The plaque says to President Donald J. Trump, our greatest friend and greatest ally, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And, a nice piece of wood there that what looks like kind of a blast. It's kind of in the shape of a blast. I mean, this is how sick. These are the Nazis. These are the Nazis. The Nazis have won. And this is what the world looks like when if the Nazis would have won, this is what the world looks like, because this time the Nazis did win. And maybe that's Trump's thinking. I mean, I don't blame him in some ways. I understand the Israelis' panic at this point, because there's two ways to think of this conflict. It has been a conflict that's been going on for a long time, true, since the Israelis started flooding themselves in and taking all the land and having their plans of like, this land belongs to Jews. God said so. Get out of here, the rest of you. So it has been going on for a long time. And the Palestinians have been on the losing side of that war over and over and over again. So I can understand from somewhat of a humanitarian bleeding heart perspective where you just think, look, they've lost. It's time to accept it. And it's time to just save lives, move them out. The Israelis aren't going to stop. They're genocidal maniacs. They're going to keep going. They're going to keep killing all these children. We can't let them do that. And so we're just going to, but we can't really stop them. So we're going to have to just move the people and save some lives and resettle them, because the Israelis are going to be tyrannical. And there is a thinking to this that is kind of America first, I suppose. You could twist this into, and they've controlled our government. They've gotten a firm grasp on us because they want us to help them in this endeavor. They're so hell-bent on taking all the land that they have infiltrated our government. They bought up all our politicians. They blackmailed all of our people into supporting this agenda. So once they get their goal, maybe they'll leave us alone. I mean, that's fair enough to think. Like, maybe they would just go away. Leave us alone. You got your land. Go. And you probably have a lot of Germans and a lot of Americans who are thinking, yeah, and once they have the land of Israel, then all the Jews will go. And then they'll leave us alone. And they'll stop being here, pretending to be American citizens, pretending to be America first, and really like Ben Shapiro, and very, very obviously being Israel first, and basically being Mossad agents in disguise. And so they'll just go to your land. You said you wanted the land, go to your land, go live there, leave us alone. That's sure. Okay. I guess there's that thinking that this could turn out to be somehow America first in that way. Right. And of course, all of the people that hate Jews, the right wing, ultra white nationalist group that has always been, Aryan nation style or whatever, or Christian, the ones that are hyper in that way, they would be thrilled. They're like, yeah, okay, great. Get them all out of here. So that's one way to think of it, I suppose, that this could be an America First agenda, because maybe it would finally get rid of their influence because they would have got what they wanted and they'll just leave us alone. That's one way to think about it. So rip the Band-Aid off. Let's just speed this up. Get it over with. Stop buying us off. As if that would stop, they would continue buying us off and influencing us and infiltrating because they still have an agenda. Maybe to grow Israel, make it even larger, or just to ensure that we always are there to protect them, so that they're never bullied by anybody else. They're always going to keep us under their thumb. So that's not a really working strategy to think, well, if we just give them what they want, maybe they'll go away. And if Israel was safe, then, maybe the Ben Shapiros of the world would immigrate there finally and leave us alone. I don't know. Maybe, right? Okay. That's one way to think of it. But otherwise, I mean, that's this, it's just so, there's no way to make this work in an agenda that is, uh, I mean, we're just doing their dirty work. So now we're just going to, they've got us in this position. So here's the thing. The world hates Israel. Now we know that. So, Israel's panicking because they're thinking we only have about 30 years to pull this off, maybe 20, before the young people, before all the old boomers die off and the support for Israel dies off. And so we only have about 20 years to take over all the land, because if we go any longer than that, if this conflict takes longer and if the Palestinians can hold tight, then the new generation will rise up. They're the new leaders, and they just won't let this happen. I mean, the world is turning on Israel. The world sees what Israel is, and now they just won't let it happen. So they're kind of thinking now or never. It's a now or never endeavor. We've got to take the land now. Otherwise, in the future, the world will turn. We'll be forced to integrate them into society, and it will no longer be a Jewish nation. And that's the truth. That is exactly what would happen. So they're scrambling and they're trying to get this done soon. And they've bought Trump and he's their greatest friend. And so now Trump is doing their dirty work. So there's no reason to think that this is some sort of a ploy. This is some sort of a negotiation tactic or some sort of an America First actual agenda hidden, somehow it's hidden into there. That's not real. That's not real. What's real is the Israelis bought off our government. They realize they're on a ticking clock because the world has seen now what they're doing and how sick they are, having observation decks looking over these areas, blowing up all the children, giving these stupid awards to Donald Trump with the pager on it, like, oh, look at what we are, look at the destruction we're able to do, lying to us, saying they're doing targeted strikes. And we go in there and we see the whole place is destroyed. I mean, so that's what's gone on here. You got to believe him. I just don't know how he's logistically going to pull it off. So, when the fighting stops, when's the fighting going to stop? You think that the Palestinians are going to put their arms down and just go? I mean, as soon as all the hostages come back to Israel, as soon as the ceasefire is kind of done. I mean, this is ruining the ceasefire agreement, by the way. The Palestinians are hearing this. I don't know why they'd want to continue on. I think they should just stop the ceasefire. I mean, honestly, like, what's the point? Because they're telling you when the ceasefire is over, they're just going to take your land. They're going to clean you all out of there. I mean, that's what you were fighting for this whole time. So what's the point? What's the point of having a ceasefire? I mean, I hope the ceasefire holds, and I hope that this is some sort of ploy I don't understand, but boy, this is really disheartening. Thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iverson Show. If you want to watch the full show, visit KimIversonShow.com. The show airs every Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Again, it's KimIversonShow.com. See you there.